Hey everyone, it's Software Dev Jason here. This is going to be my next little video series here, and this one's going to be about rebuilding the top and bottom end of a KTM 65. So I would highly recommend, if you're interested in seeing the full rebuild of this bike, to go back, and I'll put a link in the information here, or in this video I'll embed a link to see that series of videos. I replaced the steering stem bearings, the swing arm bearings, and the wheel bearings, and do kind of a restoration of this bike. This was a Craigslist kind of project bike that I took on from my niece. Anyway, long story short, we got the bike in running condition. We thought the engine was kind of mechanically sound. The first race we had it on, the last moto of the night, the bike just completely cut off. It acted like it was seized for a minute, but eventually I got it to kick over, and so I took the head off, and I'll touch on exactly what I've done so far in a second. But took the head off, and it turns out it's a crank issue. Still not completely sure what happened. I have a few ideas, but again, as I say in all my videos, I am not a mechanic. So most of the stuff is, my own research and my own little bit of mechanical knowledge that I do have. Again, don't follow my videos to rebuild your own bike. Refer to your service manual. This is kind of stuff I do for fun. So I'm not a mechanic. Follow my videos for your own projects at your own risk. With that being said, let's get started on what I've actually done so far. Okay, all I've done to pull the head is I removed the gas tank. I drained the coolant. I loosened all of the coolant lines, and I kind of turned them so that they're out of the way. I took the pipe off. I took the whole front part of the pipe completely off. Unhooked the spark plug, took the spark plug out, broke the bolts on the little head cap, and then I pulled the jug out. It was on with 4 posts, so that's real simple to get that off, and that's kind of that'll look kind of like what you see right now if you do that. I haven't drained the trans fluid or anything like that. I haven't unhooked any controls. I am going to have to pull the engine off the bike, so all that's going to have to be unhooked eventually anyway. I'll show you what I have found so far. The first thing I noticed as soon as I pulled the head off is that I believe what we have right there are melted crank stuffers. Basically, the black plastic stuffers they put in on both sides of the crank. That's what it's supposed to look like there. It's kind of a smooth, defined edge. Over on this side, you can see it's certainly melted. Okay, that's a little bit better picture. So when I pulled the head, the first thing I noticed, and I've wiped most of it out, but in this area right here, there was tons of, it wasn't metal, which is kind of a relief, but it doesn't really make a difference in this case. It wasn't metal, it was little black shavings of what looked like rubber or plastic. So melted plastic, melted rubber, something like that. That's what I found. There was a bunch of it over in this area, and obviously you can see the smooth, defined edge there on that side. And you can kind of see on this side where it is melted. So that's, I'm not completely convinced that's what that is. It really does look like plastic, but visibly on top, I can't see that the actual plastic is melted over there. So, something's obviously up there. Now, as far as the bottom or the big end bearing, there is some play. There's not much side-to-side play, and which is good, but that's the main concern is the up and down play. Let me get it in this region right here. And so there's a tiny bit of up and down play. Well, there's a little bit of up and down play. It's hard to show it. It's barely noticeable. You can't see it. You kind of just have to feel it. Okay. Second thing I noticed is when I took the ignition cover off. I do have quite a bit of dirt and mud in there. Now I was concerned about a seal on this side, but this is not it's not oily. There's no oily residue. This is just kind of where there was an imperfect seal on this ignition cover. So I was looking for oil on this side to maybe indicate one of the oil seals went out, or the seal on this side went out. But that doesn't seem to be the case. There's no oil there. Okay, so here's the piston. There's a few issues with it, but it's still a decent piston. It has some carbon buildup. It has some very, very, very fine imperfections on the actual piston head itself. That is most likely from an issue that I mentioned in my previous video, where the previous owner was running this bike with an unsealed air filter. So very likely we had some dirt getting on this piston, and that is what caused some of these imperfections here, as well as on the crown here of the cylinder head. Very small imperfections. There are no deep cuts. Emery cloth. There's a little bit of carbon stuck on here. I haven't cleaned this up or anything, but an Emery, like an Emery cloth or an Emery pad, I could I could remove most of those. Those are very tiny. You can't really feel them. You can just kind of see them. Most likely from the air filter on the bike not being sealed when the bike was ran by the previous owner. So not good, but that's not the cause of our problem here. There's a little bit of blow by right here. It's a little worrisome because it's this piston, or the top end, apparently only had, or supposedly only had, 4 hours on it when I got the bike. The compression was pretty awesome, so it's believable, but I really don't know why they ran it with that air filter not seated. That was really silly. As far as the sidewalls of the piston, there's a few places where there's some scratches right here. So there's a pretty deep little scratch down the side of the piston there. That's about the only one, really. Well, I'll take that back. There's some damage to that side. I can't rule out the dirt getting in on the piston, or the previous owner said he had deglazed the cylinder walls. He didn't go into details about the method of doing that, but in this case we'll assume the worst. He deglazed them and didn't clean out the ports, and that's where some of that could have been from. Alright guys, so here's the deal. Yeah, rebuilds have to happen on bikes, but this was especially frustrating for me because, my niece knew I was kind of getting this bike into running shape for in those previous videos. I really urge you to go watch those because you'll kind of get an idea of what all we've done to the bike so far. But I was really rushing this. She was really excited about it, and the first race, the last moto on the last lap, the bike blew up. And that was really frustrating for me. It was especially frustrating for my niece because she had to push her bike off the track on the last lap of the last moto, and she was doing so awesome for her first time on a two-stroke. So I don't want that to happen again. That was horrible. I'll admit it, that was horrible. And she thought she had done something wrong to blow the bike up. She thought I was going to be mad. I couldn't have been any happier. I was really happy with how she rode it. But it was a pretty sad way to end that series of videos with a blown engine. Don't want to deal with that again, so we're rebuilding the whole thing, like I said. Another good thing is we don't have to wait on parts in this video because I've already ordered them. I'll go ahead and show you what I've got. I got a Wiseco top end that's going in this bike. This is the standard size. This is the standard size piston. I'll give you a little peek of that in this nice little Wiseco Crown Royal bag. There's the wrist pin. What is this? There's the circlips to hold the wrist pin in. Here is the piston. This is the 45mm piston, standard size. I did bore gauge that cylinder. We're within spec. And the piston that came out of that had extremely high compression, and it was a standard size piston as well. So we're in good shape with going back with a standard size piston. What else is in here? Oh, that's just the piston ring itself. And I believe this is called I think this is the Pro Light. Yeah, I think this is a Pro Light piston. I'm not up to snuff on the different variations of the Wiseco pistons. I hope I'm saying that right too. But I think it's called a Pro Light piston, I'm not sure. Missing dowel right there. I'm not going to fool around with taking a chance of my jetting being off because of the reeds. I have 3 different size main jets here, and 3 different size slow jets, and I also have a carburetor bowl gasket. So we're going to get this thing jetted perfect before it goes on the track again. Filter skins I found in a single moto. This bike has more dirt on the air filter than riding one of the trail bikes for a whole day. I'm not sure if just because it has more openness to the air box or the way it was designed. I'm not sure. It gets a lot of air in there. It gets a lot of dirt in there. So I picked up some filter skins because I mean it's just incredible how much dirt gets on that in a single moto. I mentioned in previous videos this isn't related to the rebuild, so I'm not going to show anything about it, just to show you what's going to be changed on the bike if you're interested. Back brakes I think had grease on them or something at some point. The system and the mechanical aspect of the rear brakes work. There's nothing wrong with it. The brake pads just don't stop that well. So I think they were sprayed with grease or WD-40 or who knows what they did. But I've got some brake pads that are going on. Also, when I pulled the carb, I noticed that there were at least 2 of the lines in the throttle cable were snapped. So we're going to go ahead and replace the throttle cable. This is an all balls racing throttle cable. Also, I had a puller. I didn't have a puller that really fit, so we've got a Motion Pro flywheel puller. I guess it's a 27mm. You can probably get it off without that, but it's better to have the right tool for the job. So also picked up a clutch holding tool that actually fits, so I don't have to use the method that I used in the past, which was horrible. So okay, on to the other fun stuff here. This is a HotRods bottom end. I've heard some good things about the HotRods bottom end. I've heard tons of good things about the Wiseco top ends. I've heard some bad things about the Wiseco bottom ends. And I don't know if HotRods even makes a top end. So this is the combination I went with. Wiseco top end, HotRods bottom end. Everything that I read in the little amount of time that I was able to do research indicated this is a pretty good combination to go with. So it's a basic unboxing of this. So we have some head gaskets, the O-rings for the jug, case gaskets, some other O-rings in there, maybe for the water pump there. This is Vertex gaskets. Okay, there's some of the main bearings. So those are going to go in the freezer very soon. These are some oil seals, obviously. These are Vertex. Product information and stickers. I'm not sure why there's a Pivot Works sticker in there, unless some of those seals or something came from Pivot Works, or maybe the bearings did. I'm not sure. Okay. There is the needle bearings for the piston, and here is the crank. So this is the HotRods bottom end. Oh, it's so nice to have no play. All right, so that's basically all the parts that's going to be needed for this this build. Okay, so a little bit better look at this if you're interested in the exact part number. So this is the KTM crankshaft for the 65SX 2003 to 2008. At 2009 they changed to KTM 65s. So this is for the older 65s. Part number I guess is 4047. Here's the oil seal kit and the part number or SKU for that. Here's the main bearings and seals and the SKU or part number for that. Alright, so that's a basic intro of what we got going on here and where we're going to be going with this series of videos. I hope to start working on it soon, so if I get this video posted and you don't see anything for a while, it's because I got wrapped up in something else. So, but yeah, that's basically what we're going to be doing in this project. Thanks for watching.